And like I said, if you're not using AI for content creation, you are already behind.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SaaS SEO Show. I'm your host, George Cassiotis, and today I'm very happy to be joined by Allison Smith. Allison is an experienced marketing professional who resides in San Diego, California, and currently leads the content marketing team at Netradyne. With over 11 years of experience in the B2B space, Allison is an expert in storytelling, content strategy, and SEO optimization. Allison, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Can you please share a few things about these 11 years and your journey so far up to the point you joined Netradyne?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was very lucky. Early on, I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I was younger. And I didn't know the right title or company, but I knew I like to read and write, and I would always look in the magazines and be like, I want to be one of those people that writes those articles and those columns. And naturally, as I grew in college, I found my way to social media, and that's really where I started my content creation career, and kind of naturally followed the path up to content marketing, from social media to marketing communications, SEO and content management, and now to leading a content team at Netradyne. And so I really had that natural path and that natural creative passion. And so I feel very lucky to have been able to do what I've always wanted to do.
Can you speak about Netradyne a bit? First of all, what is Netradyne, and who is your typical customer who also gets the most value out of the product?
Yeah, so Netradyne, it is a hardware software product. It is an intelligent AI video safety technology, and in its simplest form, it's a dash cam for fleets. So when you see the long haul, short haul trucking, on the freeway, on the roads, and they have a dash cam right on their windshield, that's us. And that's the hardware, and then there's software that goes along with it. And we serve the transportation industry, which is the backbone of our economy, especially around the holidays when UPS, Amazon workers are going extra hours and extra miles. And, they need to be safe. And that is our main goal, is road safety, fleet safety, driver safety, so that drivers get home safe to their families and everyone else on the road is safe as well. And our technology helps do that. And so our audience really are safety managers, fleet managers, and drivers. And we're very, very passionate about keeping the road safe. That's our number one goal.
Is this forgive me, I'm asking, but I really don't know. But is this B2B or B2G also? I mean, do you sell to governments?
It is B2B. Yeah. So we sell to other businesses. And for example, we'll have oil and gas or construction or school bus. We're actually in Amazon last mile trucks. So when you see the Amazon last mile delivery trucks in your neighborhood, you can take a peek and see our camera in there.
Okay, that makes sense. You were previously at Meltwater, which is a company I happen to know because we had a client in the sort of digital PR space. And my question is, what did you learn there, and what learnings did you bring to your current role at Netradyne?
Yeah, so at Meltwater, yes, it's marketing, PR, digital space, and the best thing about that was that we were marketing to ourselves, right? Like we were our own customers, so it was really, really fun to be able to create content that resonates with our audience because we were the experts at it. And what I really learned there, and as you probably know, Meltwater is a global company. And I learned how to operate on a global scale, from social to all the way to content production. We were very, very heavy on collaborating and communicating with different teams in Europe and APAC. And that was one of my favorite parts, was one, being able to do that and learn, how to operate on a global scale, but also to invest our time and meet new people across the globe. And one important thing that I really brought from that role to Netradyne was a pillar and cluster model strategy for our website. And so when I joined Netradyne 3 years ago, actually this December, there was basically no marketing team, and there's 4 of us that had just gotten hired, and our website was horrible. It was like, the branding was off, like there was no strategy. The content that was created was like ad hoc by maybe a product manager. And so I brought a strategy and a pillar cluster model strategy because that was the fastest way to get organic traffic and establish authority with Google, with quality content as well. And so we really started from the basics, and I learned that at Meltwater, and it was a huge success.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I wouldn't call what Netradyne does as category creation, but the truth is that what you do is quite niche, and as per my understanding, there's no maturity, let's say, in your category. The question is, if that's, correct, the question then is, how do you approach content marketing for such a company when you don't know what, the paths are, or you can't see other examples of companies that have done it before you to say that, okay, I will, follow their paths?
Right. Great question. So yes, our industry isn't your typical B2B tech audience. Although our tech is sophisticated, our audience are primarily drivers and safety managers. And so they aren't your typical techie people, right? We do have some audience that we target towards a CRO, depending on the size of the company. If it's more of an enterprise like Amazon or Shell or UPS. But our industry is small but mighty. There's basically about 3 big players in this space. And so we compete with 2 other big players. So connecting with our audience and differentiating ourselves is basically our strategy from a humanized perspective. So it really requires you to put yourself in their shoes, understand their pain points, help provide them a solution. And the thing about the transportation industry is that, safety managers and drivers, they've been doing this for 20, 30 years. Like, this is their career. And so they know way more than we do, right? So we need to be able to focus less on tofu and awareness content because they already know that kind of stuff. And we need to really focus more on thought leadership, POV, telling them something that they don't know. And so, we use our internal folks who have a lot of experience in the industry and to create this content and really understand, what's important to them.
Did you face any challenges understanding the vertical?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think really the main challenge is just knowing more than our customer. And within our industry, there's multiple verticals. So we serve oil and gas truckers, we serve long haul trucking, we serve food and beverage, we serve school, construction, passenger transit. And so each one of those transportation verticals they have different needs and they have different pain points. And some of them care more about compliance scores more than others. For example, oil and gas, they're delivering hazardous material. And so they need to be as safe as possible, right? And so they require a really high quality of driver performance. So no speeding, no distracted driving on your cell phone, not following too close, being proactive and aware. every driver should be right, but they are delivering hazardous material, so they have to like be on top of their game. And so their pain points are much different than other vertical pain points. And so the difficulty is really just getting the research down and getting those pain points down of what is important to them.
Once you get those, how do you come up with like a topic that you will write about, right? You know what the pain points are, but at the same time, you have to deal with an audience that's like pretty knowledgeable when it comes to the stuff that you want to talk about. So how does your topic ideation process look like?
Yeah, so great question. This year we really have a heavy focus on thought leadership content and, MoFu and BoFu pieces of content because of that, because our audience knows more than us. And so we want to provide them a different point of view on certain topics and be their source of truth rather than teaching them something. And so right now, that's how we're deciding on topics and the selection process. And we really also are letting our customers tell the story as well, meaning we're utilizing our customer stories, our testimonials, our quotes, our driver quotes, and we're using that as content to tell the story of Netradyne and hopefully get more customers so that ultimately we can make the road safer. So that's where we are, right now. But when I first started, we would take year over year data from the website and how content performed, the content that was there, and what was closing deals. And we still do that, but really the main thing is providing value and that thought leadership. And so it's kind of a combination right now of that thought leadership strategy and then taking our year over year data of how well content performed, mapping it to the pain points, and SEO driven insights are also very helpful in terms of what content performs as well.
Can I ask, because we're talking about a knowledgeable audience, and you want to focus on thought leadership when it comes to content, but it's pretty tough because there are not so many people who can speak about these things and write about them, right? Mm-hmm. So can you talk a bit about how you source and find writers who can actually write this content?
Yeah, great question. That our industry definitely requires an expertise. And so in order to get that quality thought leadership content, one, we use our internal sources. So we use a lot of folks from the product team, the product marketing team, people who have been with Netradyne from the start and who have been in the industry for a while to help provide the content, whether it's them writing the pieces of content or helping us decide on an outline and then we assign it to a writer. We really use our internal sources first, and then we go through different channels like third party to help, provide credibility to the content. And then also, with writers, we really vet them and make sure that one, they have a really good writing style for B2B tech, which is a very, very great quality and sometimes very hard to find. And I think a lot of people put that they are, B2B tech writers, but you can really, really tell a difference if they're not. And so we look for that, and we also look for expertise and experience in the industry. And so vetting writers is definitely a thorough process, and it's not something that's as easy as other companies I've been at. We have to really put time and effort into finding the right people to tell the story.
I'd like to comment on B2B tech writers just for a moment and say that, I don't know, lately I'm thinking that this whole industry is so commoditized, and there are so many people and agencies, consultants, freelancers who serve this industry, like B2B SaaS writer or whatever.
Yeah.
And this whole thing makes me wonder, like, is this a good thing, or we should look for people with different perspectives who don't have experience working or writing within a B2B context, right? Because they will bring a fresh perspective that we don't have. And at the same time, that's one thing. The other thing is that you can just say that you are like a B2B SaaS writer, because what does that mean? Does it mean that you can write for anything like maritime analytics because you wrote for a sales CRM? Like it doesn't really make sense, right? I don't know what your thoughts are, but like these are some thoughts I've been having lately.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts on that. B2B SaaS writers is kind of like a generic umbrella term. And I find that when I am looking for new writers, that's usually a lot of in people's headlines or their overviews. And when you get to really vetting, it's not the quality that you're necessarily looking for. And so I think, gearing towards 2024 in the future, B2B SaaS writers, I think there needs to be a little bit more detail there on, exactly what that means. And to me, that means that they can take a really complex product and put it in layman's terms. I used to work for a data security company. And so understanding, on-premise cloud versus cloud storage for data is a, difficult topic. And, you really need to source the experts for it. And not a lot of people are really experts at B2B SaaS writing. And so I think there needs to be some kind of, shift in that. And then you had also mentioned, what was the other half that you had mentioned?
So the first one was, I guess, the fact that we need, or maybe to put it differently, do we really need someone with experience in B2B SaaS? The second, the fact that you have done work for a couple of SaaS companies doesn't mean that you can, like, what does B2B SaaS writer mean? I mean, can you, as I mentioned, can you write for something as niche as like maritime analytics or field service management? Most likely no. So it's better for me to specialize in like very specific areas and say that, you know what, I'm writing for project management SaaS, okay? Than to say that, I'm writing for every SaaS out there. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So the first half of that, I am a big proponent of, it really depends on their resume, but I would hire someone with B2C experience as well as B2B. And I say that because I started out in B2C, and I think it provides like a fresh perspective and how B2C operates versus B2B. And the experience that you gain, I think, sometimes people are really just looking for B2B and don't look between the lines or like look from a holistic perspective of the work that was done from a B2C company. I don't think writers or content managers should be, their resume should be thrown out just because it was B2C. I think it's still important to have that mix of both. It kind of makes you well-rounded, right? And I can say that because I've been there and I've done it. And then the second part to that, B2B SaaS writers, I think, my biggest advice would be to specialize in an industry and pick an industry that you are knowledgeable about and have experience with, or if you don't have experience, are passionate about and want to get into, and take that and be B2B tech SaaS writer for, data security. Or if it's like Netradyne, transportation technology, or if it's like Meltwater, right? PR analytics and marketing software. So really taking that industry and attaching it to the B2B SaaS tech writer, I think is what's going to generate a little bit more success and from a writer perspective.
I agree. I agree with you. We touched on your content creation process a bit and like ideation. You start from pain points, and you also involve people from like within the company to in the content creation process. Can we talk a bit about distribution and promotion? How do you approach that, and how do you make sure that the content you like produce gets seen?
Right. Right. The most important part. So of course it's on our website, and we also, I work really closely with our performance and ABM team to create campaigns. And so with that, we do a lot of email campaigns. We do a lot of organic and paid social campaigns. We also utilize our third party contacts, and that's huge for us. So we have like basically three big third parties that we do webinars with, or we'll sponsor certain content in their emails. Maybe like sometimes they have a daily digest, and we'll put a sponsored blog in there. And because they have more contacts than we do, and they have been in the industry a lot longer than us. And so they're talking to the people that we want to talk to, and that we can't reach from an organic perspective. So utilizing, that the email campaigns from a paid and organic perspective, and of course social as well, organic and paid social. Right now we do both, and we also host LinkedIn Lives. That's something that we just started this year, and really quick LinkedIn Lives, like 20 minutes, because our audience does not want to stay on any longer. And just getting to the point, and it's like a monthly thing where we just go over the most important thing from the month and take a topic that really resonates with our audience. And we found that boosting those posts help a lot more than from an organic perspective. We've also started a customer newsletter this year as well, and our customers really appreciate getting product updates, and hearing about what improving from our product that can help them. So we use all the different channels.
Okay, can we talk about the customer newsletter a bit? I mean, is this a branded newsletter? Does it live on the website, or is it a completely different entity living somewhere else?
Yeah, it does not live on the website. It goes directly to our customers. So we have mid-market and enterprise customers, and we send them this newsletter once a month. And we actually have changed our strategy from once a month to once a quarter. Like I said, we had just started it earlier this year. And so at the end of the year, we always evaluate how our projects are going. And we found that it would be more valuable to do our customer newsletter once a quarter. And the reason being is because we could provide better quality content versus trying to find content just to put content in, right? That's the number one rule with content. Don't create content just to create it. And we found that we were like stretching our customer newsletter stories a bit too much. And we wanted to be very, very effective and provide a lot of value. And doing that was on a quarterly basis. And we mapped that to our roadmap. And I work really closely with the customer success team, the sales team, and our product team to develop the stories in the customer newsletter. We really want it to be less markety, right? There are certain things we care about, like our blog or webinar, and we want to get more engagement and maybe more referrals, right? But they don't care about that, and that's the feedback that we've gotten. And so we really switched our gears, and now we're like, okay, well, in your portal, this is new, right? This is new about the product. This is coming out. Things like that actually serves them rather than a blog post.
Okay, that's interesting, and it's not something. It's maybe the first time I hear something like this in the podcast. I'm referring to the customer newsletter. The question is, I'm hearing all these different initiatives and different like platforms or vehicles for communicating the value of what you do, either to a customer or a prospective customer or your general audience. The question is, how do you measure the effectiveness of that? Because I'm assuming that you're using different metrics to measure the value of like the customer newsletter, as opposed to like writing a blog post for search or like creating something that's specific to social media.
Yeah. Yeah. So how we measure for, customer newsletter, because they're already our customers, right? So there's no necessarily ROI from it, but the ROI is more of a long-term longevity of being their source of truth and trusted partner. And so we measure our success, from a metric perspective of open rate. And then, in Pardot in Salesforce, you can see how they interacted with the stories, and you can see what stories are most clicked on, the click-through rate. And we also have a call to action at the end of a referral program. And so we provide an incentive where if they refer another fleet, then they get a certain amount of money and XYZ. And so we also take a look at that and see how many of those forms were filled. But really, it's our open rate. And then I also talk to the sales team as well, and I really communicate with them heavily and see what their customers think of the newsletter. Surveys are very, very helpful too when it comes to customer newsletters and customer content, to gauge if these stories are valuable to them. And so kind of a combo of surveys, talking to the sales team. If, our customers will definitely tell us what they think. They'll go out of their way to do that. We don't necessarily have to poke and prod them. But yeah, from in Pardot, you can see what stories were most popular, your open rate, your read rate, things like that.
As we are nearing the end of this episode, I would like to shift gears a bit and discuss, what everyone discusses in this industry nowadays, which is AI. And my question to you is, what are your thoughts on it first? And then have you found any like good use cases for content marketing and your role?
Yeah. So I actually just went to an SEO conference here in San Diego, and the main focus was AI and with content creation, content strategy, and like SEO templates. And so it was really, really interesting to learn more about AI and the future of content. But it's, interesting because if you're not using AI for content creation, you're already behind. I don't think it's something that's in our future. I think it's something that's here and now. And if you're not using it, you are already behind. And, we use an AI content tool. It's called Jasper. And from, my research, using an AI tool versus just human approach, you generate 25% more content creation. This doesn't mean that the AI content should not be reviewed by a human. The key to get your AI to create good quality content is providing a good quality outline. And that's gonna, like, if you spend your time on the outline and the logistics of it, like you tell it its tone of voice, who you're trying to reach, you really spend a lot of time on that outline and template and information that you're serving it, you'll get a much better piece of content than just kind of letting it do its thing. And at the end, when it does generate a blog post or an email or whatever you're asking it to do, you do need to review it. And one, there's risks that come to it. The first thing is the accuracy. So is the information that the AI tool is writing about accurate, from a data perspective? Does it match your brand voice, who your audience, is it, does it match that brand voice? And then also, what's the quality of the content? Does it make sense when you read it through? You really need to do a human review at the end. Don't just take the piece of content it writes and put it on your website, but it helps me a lot to generate really good quality content. And like I said, if you're not using AI for content creation, you are already behind.
What else do you see? What, like, if you were asked to paint a picture of how the future looks like for SaaS content marketing, what else would you say is in that picture or would be in that picture?
Yeah. So I first think, AI and automation are really just going to grow stronger. And so right now we're seeing the basics of it. And so I'm excited to see how it grows and how it progresses and what else it can do. I also think, for the future for content marketing, it's really going to be more personalization and criteria-based content. So really personalizing your content and focusing on the intent. And at this SEO conference I went to, there was a heavy emphasis on creating content with intent. And so I think that and personalizing your content is key for 2024. And I also, in my research, I believe that criteria-based content is important too. And what I mean by that is not necessarily criteria for your persona, but criteria for the platform. So criteria that LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or your website is requiring, and tailoring the content based on the criteria of the platform and how the platform is growing and what it needs. So I also read too in an article that voice search is in our near future. And I actually had read that a couple years ago, but I haven't seen a lot of movement on it. So I'm interested to see if that's really going to come true, if or not. But voice search, meaning, using Alexa's or Apple's products. And so that's going to require more conversational content. But that is something I've been hearing for a couple of years. So I'm not sure if it's going to make it into 2024, but we'll see.
There are many next big things, especially, I'm in this industry for fewer years. I mean, even half the years that you have in this industry. But I've seen like voice search was one of the things that was supposed to be, like this is coming. And so be prepared. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical about most of these things nowadays. Not that things won't change, and I always welcome, any change. But if it's for, the better and the improvement of things, but I don't know. I just want to wait a bit until I say that, this is indeed a thing we should do or not.
Right. Yeah, and I think it depends on the industry too. Right. Like, I don't know if our industry would really do well with that, but other industry might. So we'll be waiting to see.
Yes, that's right. So, Allison, that was very insightful, very nice episode, nice flow. Well done. And last question I ask to all guests: where can people find out more and get in touch with you if they'd like to?
Yeah, you can find more about Netradyne at netradyne.com. And for me specifically, you can go to my LinkedIn.
We will drop it in the show notes. Allison, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and having me on.